I haven't got a chance to ask Richard, but I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Yes, most Republicans, Obamacare, worst law ever. Now, remember all the bad stuff we've heard, like it's the beginning of socialized medicine, or it's going to lead to deteriorating service, or bureaucrats will invade the privacy of the examination room here. That Obamacare put us on, remember this one, the road to ration care. Now, those patients also would lose freedom to choose their own doctor. I go on and on and on. You've seen probably some of the ads. Well, it turns out that's also what critics were saying about Medicare and Medicaid when President Johnson, LBJ, signed it into law back in '65. Or what about the claims that Obamacare is a job killer, it's socialism, and it will end the progress of a great country? What about all that? Well, that's exactly what critics were saying about Social Security, the exact language in '35 when FDR signed it into law. And today, just try to repeal Social Security or Medicare and see how angry voters would get. My point is, all those quotes were what they said about Medicare and Social Security back then, 60s and 30s. So this is not a new argument we've had when there's been a government program attached to health care or quality of life for the elderly. So the question is, Obamacare, clearly not the ruination of America that some would have led us to believe, or that they predicted Medicare and Social Security, for that matter, would have been a generation and 2 generations ago. But there is also an argument that Obamacare is something that Democrats, instead of running away from like the plague, like many still do, maybe ought to take ownership of and use it to their political advantage. And this is an opinion. I'm just going to do the numbers. And all these numbers come from the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan, okay? 12 million more Americans will now have health insurance than would have had it if Obamacare didn't exist. 12 million. You go to 2017, the number more than doubles to 26 million. Again, Americans that will have health insurance that never had it before. Obamacare is looking better on the bottom line too, stuff that you never would believe from some of the critics. The program will cost $100 billion less than was previously predicted over the next decade, because reform is actually lowering the cost of health care overall. Again, not my opinions here. This all coming from the CBO. And Obamacare actually, and this is something I think conservatives would love, will cut at least almost $109 billion off the federal budget deficit in the next decade. Okay, if I told you, Andrew, in a million years, or if I told you 6 months ago, that somehow they not only would make their number of remember the 6 million that they had to reach, the threshold, but they get to 11 million before mid-April, and that the thing's actually saving money and will actually lower the deficit, you would have taken those odds and run with it.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out a way that I could say, yeah, I knew. It was advertised that it would save money and that it would cut the deficit, so that part I do believe. Getting to the numbers that we've gotten to already, no, I did not believe back in October that we were going to get to those numbers. So you got me there.
Nobody did. It was a disaster, the rollout, Dominic. But my question then becomes, before Richard says, and he's going to say, if you're a Democrat now and you say, how much more time to break? No, and if you say to yourself, wait a second, people who signed up like the thing, there's a whole lot of them. More people are signing up, and I actually can be fiscally prudent by saying the thing's saving money. At what point do Democrats say, hey, I can run on this thing? I don't have to run away from it.
They may not, because it's too polarizing an issue, because Republicans have been too effective at demonizing this issue and demonizing this president. So it's too, Republicans will give Mr. Obama credit for health care. The same way Lyndon Johnson got it for civil rights 50 years later. So when we're all old men or gone,
I'll be going to Chicago or Springfield.
We'll be gone because our Obamacare didn't work. That's right. That's what I was
So 50 years later, he'll finally get the credit that's credit.
Well, let's see what the criticism is going to sound like, Richard.
Yes. So here what you look. I'm very happy 11 people have health insurance.
I'm sure you are.
But the worst is
not 11 million.
11 million.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, who knows if with the system glitches. Listen, I'm very happy that's happened. But look, the worst is yet to come. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security have cost this country so much money and need to
Let me
be
give you a second.
reformed.
Would you like to get rid of those programs? Your
Listen,
predecessors
they
in the
need to be
Republican Party.
reformed. Remember, we had a conversation earlier about Cuomo getting $10 billion, and part of that was because he was able to reform and save money and with the Medicaid program. And that's
Richard supporting
the
Andrew
worst.
Cuomo. Yep.
No.
Yeah.
The worst is yet to come. Also, listen, the more people on the Obamacare, obviously it's the law and people have to purchase it or get penalized, so they're going to do that. But we don't have enough doctors out there, enough places for people to go. Right now, I call my doctor up to get a normal physical. I have to wait 3 to 4 months now to get a physical.
Really?
Before,
I don't have to wait that long.
Well, let me have your doctor.
Come to my doctor.
Yeah,
No,
well,
seriously, I've never had
Okay,
it. I don't have to
so
wait that
let's
long now.
leave it the way it is with the HMOs
And 50
robbing
million people without
everyone,
health insurance.
and millions without health
The
insurance.
problem is, as I said, the worst is yet to come. There still needs to be reform in Obamacare.
I
It's
agree.
not a perfect system
I
yet.
agree.
We don't have the medical personnel to take care of it. And I got to talk to you after the show.
I-
Find out who your doctor
I agree.
is.
It should be
because
reformed.
one of the things in Obamacare is everybody gets to have a physical now. And so it really
And
is
that's a
back
bad
up.
thing?
And when you talk, no, it's not a bad thing. But when you talk to doctors about Obamacare, they really don't like the program because it doesn't work. It doesn't transition.
You
and-
do
and
know
work
the
well for
American
them.
Medical Association, the AMA, supports Obamacare.
Oh, sure.
I-
Okay.
I-
It's a
Richard-
lobbying group.
Richard,
Whoa.
I agree it
Shocker.
needs to be reformed. I agree it was imperfect from the start. It includes the insurance companies, which I never wanted to be included in the first place. Maybe the reform is to single payer, if you and that's and that throws a lot of the cost out of the way, gets the insurance companies out of it. Medicaid for all.
And Richard, are these the same doctors that are paid by HMOs to not order tests and to look the other way and ignore health problems?
Why-
of
I didn't
Americans?
get-
are these those?
We will
same- I didn't
continue
get- I
this
didn't get
debate
into
here
that, but
during the
however.
break here. When we come back,
hope not.
Congressman Peter King, he takes to Twitter, and he's blasting a decision to award the Pulitzer to the Washington Post and the Guardian for their reporting on the NSA surveillance story, publishing all the WikiLeaks here. Our panel weighing in on that when we come back.